Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Thursday, May 9th, 2024. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network as we speak. The Florida A&M University Board of Trustees is having an emergency meeting regarding the $237 million gift that was presented to them over the weekend. Lots of questions have been raised regarding that gift. They are literally going over this relationship with the individual who gave the money. So later in the show, we'll talk with a young man who has been posting a lot of comments, a lot of information on social media regarding Gerald Drami and his past and whether or not his donation is legitimate. Also, several former NAACP leaders say the civil rights organization has unjustly suspended them in a Roland Martin exclusive. We'll speak to 6 of them tonight. A Texas DA stood before the Tarrant County Commissioner's Court defending his decision to try to reconvict Crystal Mason. Y'all, 8 years after she voted, she, of course, didn't realize she could not vote. The only black commissioner to question his motives will be here. Also, another black man is killed by law enforcement in Florida. Deputies entered the wrong home and killed Senior Airman Roger Fortson. Ben Crump, the family attorney, will explain how the deputies are trying to cover up their deadly mistake. Also, in our Tech Talk segment, Meta, Facebook, they're expanding their paid verification service for businesses. We'll talk with the Fanbase CEO Isaac Hayes about this change. It is time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered, the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
All right, folks, as we speak, the Florida A&M University Board of Regents, they are meeting regarding this $237 million donation that they received from a donor over the weekend. Guys, go to my iPad, please. This meeting is taking place as we speak. Lots of questions are being raised from alumni and others regarding the donation because, again, this is a large donation to any HBCU. A lot of people, though, are asking again, where did the donation come from? Is it a legitimate donation? So a lot of questions are being asked as we speak in this board meeting. We, of course, we are following it as they actually take place because we want some answers as well. Later in the show, we're going to be talking to a gentleman. He has been posting a lot of information on social media with regards to the donor, So as we speak, go right to my iPad. As we speak, the board members again are getting they're getting answers from the university with regards to how the relationship started. In terms of what's the valuation of these stocks. He is a private company, but I have some, I've been listening for the past hour, and I certainly have some additional questions that are not being answered on this call, and so we shall talk about that later in the show. All right, folks, let's now talk about what's happening in the NAACP. Of course, the NAACP's motto is leading the fight to end racial inequality, but a group of former leaders say they have been unfairly suspended, harassed, and defamed by the civil rights organization. The group, which includes more than 20 folks from across the nation, they've got stories of unfair treatment and unexplained suspension of their leadership post and membership. 6 of them join us tonight in studio. Rochelle Bilal, the former youth advisor and chair of the AXO competition from the Philadelphia branch. She says she was suspended from sending out an out-of-date sponsorship form letter to raise money for youth. Leroy Candler, the past president of the Fresno NAACP chapter, says he was suspended for transferring funds from the NAACP to his personal account. He says that never happened, and he has a letter from the bank manager proving his innocence. Joining us, of course, on the line is Lou Walker, the president of the Antelope Valley NAACP branch, saying she was suspended after filing an internal harassment complaint. Anthony Douglas, a past board director of the NAACP in Oklahoma, says he was suspended a day before the national convention after challenging President and CEO Derek Johnson. And we'll be joined later by Nashville's past president, Vanita Lewis, who says she was suspended after challenging the direction of Tennessee State Conference President Gloria Sweet Love. Also, Betty Williams, the past president of the Sacramento NAACP branch, says she was suspended 3 days before an election after filing harassment charges. All right, glad to have all of y'all here. So first and foremost, NAACP obviously based there in Baltimore, national office. And so the CEO, you got the CEO, you got the board, they have jurisdiction obviously over the branches. And so when it comes to both of you, what was the process that took place that led to your suspension?
First of all, Mona, thank you for having us, because we do appreciate this. The process was none. There, in the Constitution and bylaws in the NAACP, basically states that if there's an issue with any member, that you have to file, and they have a specific way that you have to file what is considered an Article 10 in the Constitution and bylaws. That has to be filed with 20 members in good standing about what it is that you do. Most of these, the Article 10 was not filed. If you are a friend of Derek Johnson, which was told to me, that you can go to him or go to Gloria Sweetlove or deal with Erica Kane, you can go to them and tell them about something that they can make up that you did or didn't do, and they will give it to Derek Johnson. We recommend you suspend this person. He just signs it. He just signs it. No question, no nothing. In my case, if there was an error, I have aides that work for me. If there was an error, why don't you just call me and say, hey, you know you can't use a suspended member on your memo, and that would have been corrected, because there's a template. So
you're saying that on what you sent out was a member that had been suspended, their name was on this form, and that's why you got suspended?
Yes. That's why I got suspended.
As opposed to just correct the form?
Call me so I can correct the form. First of all, my aide don't know nothing about NAACP suspension. So she wasn't aware the person was suspended. So why not call me? 20 plus years in the NAACP, secretary to fill off your branch for more than 20 years. And let me make a correction. I was never over Axles. I was over the Youth Council for 15 plus years. I've always raised funds to make sure the Youth Council go to the conventions, do what they need to do in the city. Yes.
Leroy, you said, according to, that you were suspended for transferring funds from the NAACP account to your personal account. That was the allegation. Who made the allegation?
Rick Callender made the allegation.
Who was that?
Rick Callender is the president of the California Conference.
All right, so made the allegation, but you say you have a letter from your bank saying
a letter from the bank
the money was not transferred.
He even had legal regrets chair to come to get on a conference call with the bank manager, and the bank manager told him that he had the proof. She sent me a copy of the proof. I forwarded it to him. He showed the proof to Rick, and he still went and had me suspended. He later on had their attorney, Asante, asked me for the letter. I sent it to him and sent him to the proof. And I also sent the proof to Miss Alice Hoffman to verify that this never happened. Nothing happened. I sent letters to Mr. Williams and Derek Johnson asking for a hearing and asked to be heard. Never gotten a response. I sent them written requests, requesting that I be responded and that I be heard.
Did either of you make an appeal to the board of directors?
When you get the letter, it tells you have to make it within 15 days. I made it within 2 days.
Right.
And I made it within 2 days.
And nothing.
To who? To who?
At that point, it was Quincy Bates. You had, the letter came from Quincy Bates.
Who's that?
He's somebody on the, worked in the national office that dealt with memberships. He got I got all this documentation because emails is stamped and time dated.
Got it.
So sent that back, requesting a hearing, never got a hearing. Here's the kicker, never got a hearing, and I was suspended right before I got to the national convention last year. Never got a hearing, but in August, got a letter said that they had a hearing without me. They deliberated and decided to suspend my membership for 6 years. 6 years. You hear me? 6
So you said there was a hearing that took
They had
place,
a hearing.
but you didn't know about it.
Let me say this. This is a national organization about civil rights, but yet you violate the civil rights of your members. I'm not a subscribing member. I'm a life fully paid member. Been there plus. In Philadelphia, there are 2 other ones. 40 plus years, Shirley Jordan was the treasurer of the Philadelphia branch because she questioned the newly elected president of the Philadelphia branch who wanted a $500 check, which is against the Constitution and bylaw. That president made up a lie on a letterhead, took it to the bank, committed fraud. Me, Shirley, and the secretary of the branch who questioned her and did do an Article 10 on the Philadelphia branch. We are suspended. Yes, she did, because she's telling everybody that Derek Johnson is a friend and nothing's going to happen to her. And guess what? Nothing's happened to her.
So, Leroy, how long you were suspended?
Unknown. It's never stated how long I was suspended.
So you don't know?
I don't know. They just sent me a letter saying you were suspended. When I write a letter to find out, no one can tell me to the district how long I was suspended. Nobody has an answer for that.
Lou Walker, you were suspended for filing an internal harassment complaint. What type of harassment complaint was it?
I didn't have an internal harassment complaint. My letter said I was suspended for requesting that our branch secretary resign since he did not live in California. And I was actually responding to the community calls for help, crisis calls. I couldn't challenge my suspension. I didn't get responses when I inquired about it as well.
So how long were you suspended?
I've been suspended since August, but they didn't tell me how long my suspension is supposed to last.
Betty, what about you?
I was also suspended. I was running against the now state president of California, Hawaii. They are also saying that there was financial, my understanding through media, that it was financial issues. However, I also had harassment charges and complaints internally to the NAACP that they never responded to.
So, sorry. You said you had harassment complaints that you filed or filed against you. Which one?
I filed against the California Hawaii president.
Okay.
I internally filed 3 separate times.
And you would say harassment complaints. What kind of harassment?
Harassment as far as putting information out there that was not correct. The example, I was also the election supervisor during the election period, and it stated he put out an email saying that I was not fit to be the chair for the election chair because I was running against him, and the ballots had not been opened. They were sealed. They were supposed to be private and not open until a certain date. And so I questioned, how did he know that information? National did not respond. He kept bullying me, so much so I had to bring individuals to the meetings, and I had to make a statement and ask them to put it in the minutes that I'm being bullied. He's accusing me of things that I did not do according to the bylaws, and I wanted discrimination charges at least documented in the minutes. When those minutes came from the secretary from the election committee, it never happened. I continued to move forward. Then I started getting cyberbullying, and it came from a dark web. I had to hire an attorney who took the cyberbullying and sent it to the Department of Justice as well as the AG, the Attorney General, because in California, that is a criminal act. And so once I continued to do that, 3 days before the election, I was poised to win. I would have won. But 3 days before the election, there was an emergency agenda item saying that I should be suspended, not just me. He wanted the entire Sacramento NAACP branch to be suspended. However, it was myself, 6 others from the Sacramento branch, 2 of which had wrote support letters in my defense to the national board and Derek Johnson. They were suspended the next day for supporting me. a number of people rallied behind them and said they never should have. And then they repealed those two suspensions. So they suspend, just like Rochelle was saying, someone can give them information without investigation, without due process, without any of that. If they had known in the beginning, especially those two that they had to repeal the suspension, they would have known all they were doing was writing letters on my behalf, and it was personal.
Right.
For them to be suspended that next day.
Anthony Douglas, you allege that you were suspended a day before the National Convention because you criticized the president and CEO, Derek Johnson.
Good evening there, Roland, and thanks for having me. And that is correct. I've been the president of the Oklahoma State Conference as a former member of the National Board of Directors. I received an email saying that I was suspended. I've written them over 8 times certified letter requesting that they tell me why I'm suspended. And still to this day, I cannot get a reason for why I'm suspended. And I was also suspended for 6 years.
So, what's interesting to me here, as I'm going through information here, is what is consistent with all of you is due process. Now, based upon the rules of the organization and bylaws, does it spell out clearly what the process is when it comes to suspension, when it comes to appeal? Who do you appeal to? And then do you appeal to the national office? Let's say they rule against you. Can you then appeal to the board of directors? What's that process?
First of all, the Constitution and bylaws give you specifics. Now, the president can suspend you if he think it is detrimental to the organization. But if your friends bring you stuff and you suspend people, why would you even get involved?
No, but here's my whole point. Okay,
Yeah,
no.
I hear what you're saying.
So I
Yes.
get. So you have the authority to suspend. But I'm talking about, what is the process after that?
If they suspend you, in the letter it tells you you have 15 days to appeal.
Okay.
You appeal to that.
And who are you appealing to? National office.
That's correct.
What, director of membership?
Quincy Bates at the time worked for the national office.
Carmen Watkins.
Who is?
Okay, so what's that person's title?
That you would appeal to Carmen Watkins, who's the operations person, vice president of operations is where the letter comes from. And Rochelle is correct. There are specific dates that you go by, 15 calendar days, and then they should be responding within 10 calendar days of receipt. So there's a number of deadlines that the individual has to follow, as well as national. What has been happening is that individuals like myself and everyone on this panel and others have responded within the guidelines that's presented in the bylaws. However, the same deadlines have not been given by the national. They do not follow up. We appeal, my attorneys appeal, and we are waiting on an answer on the appeal. But they don't even tell you if you have a complaint against you, you're not allowed to see the complaint. You're not allowed to have an attorney to speak on your behalf. If you go out in front, like my branch was threatened if they said anything out loud against me or support of me, that the entire branch would be shut down. So there's these bully tactics for people to be silenced. And so much like you have to ask permission for a boycott or a rally that I know you've already experienced, you have to ask permission. But yet you're the NAACP, you're a civil rights organization. This is bad. It's worse than apartheid.
So have any of you communicated any of this to national board members? Have any of you tried to attend a national board meeting? Have y'all gotten anything from any of them? Anybody?
Let me say this.
Yes.
I got the.
Yes.
Okay. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Go.
I have the whole package of everything that happened in the Philadelphia branch, and I sent it to all the national board members. Philadelphia branch is under receivership, but it's now called administratorship, which is the same thing. You know, the administrator says to me, the national board want to know why you sending them this. because I want to let you know what's been going on.
So you sent, one second, to every board member.
Every board member.
Did any board member respond to you?
None.
So who else said that they reached out to the board? Who else?
I reached out to, this is Betty Williams, I reached out to the board. Matter of fact, I flew to Atlanta because I heard they had this emergency suspension on the agenda. I took a midnight flight, flew out there, actually had a conversation with, sorry about that, with Gloria Sweetlove. Says, I understand you may or may not have an issue with me and or my branch. I'm here. If you have any questions, any concerns regarding me or my branch, I'm here to answer them. She answered me by saying, no, we've taken your issue off the agenda. I was physically there. As a matter of fact, Roland, when I finished meeting with them, I ran into you in Atlanta in the lobby after talking to them.
Oh yeah, that's when because y'all because that was the same time Rainbow Push had their meetings there as well. Got it. I remember that. Who else said that they reached out to the board director? Someone else did.
I did.
Go ahead. What happened?
I filled everything out. I submitted my request for a hearing. I even recorded it. I sent it certified mail. I recorded myself at the post office, and I was not getting responses. I documented my calls that I made to the national office as well, and I was just given the runaround repeatedly. And this is why I joined the NAACP in the first place, because I was experiencing the same lack of due process as a state employee.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Roland, let me just say this. I served on that board. Board members is not going to intervene or get involved, even if you reach out to them, because they don't even know why you suspended. You don't know why you suspended. So even if they know, they still not going to get involved because they don't want to get a letter saying that they are suspended. So a lot of times, board members will not even ascertain or talk to you about why you got suspended. One of the things I wanted to say also, because you asked the earlier question, what the appeal process is, first of all, when you get your letter, it tells you got 15 days to request a hearing. It doesn't give you the authority or the process to have an appeal. So you have to request a hearing within 15 days. But in the meantime of waiting for that hearing, for whenever they want to schedule a hearing, then you have to continue to write, as everyone else have done, call, email, text, or whatever, and say, tell me, send me something in writing, why am I suspended, so I can be able to prepare for a hearing. So my lawyer can be able to prepare for a hearing, to assist me in the hearing process. And you still get nothing in writing. So I wanted to make sure that you understood that the process of the 15 days, once you receive that letter, you have to request a hearing with that 15 days. If you don't submit for a hearing, then you will be notified that you refuse to participate in a hearing.
And everybody has submitted their information within them 15 days. Let me say this. Even in the Constitution and bylaw, after you submit, the National Constitution and bylaw say that they're supposed to do something within 60 and 90 days, which they don't do. They don't do that at all. In my case, after, I guess it was like 60 or 90 days, they had a hearing, which I wasn't privileged to. They deliberated and decided to suspend me for 6 years. Wait a minute, what civil rights organization has a hearing without you decide on your faith and you're not even included on it? What are they doing? Let me just say this. The one thing the NAACP has taught us, when you fight, you win. We are fighting. Though it's a lot of us, but we know that there's more people out there that have been going through this with the national office, and we want them to contact us. Can I get that information out?
Yeah, go ahead.
We want you that's been going through this, because we know you think you're going through it alone. You're not. There's a whole group of us around the country. You can call us and email us. You can email us at justice, JUSTICE, the number 4, NAACP members at gmail.com. You can also call us at 323-696-2078. They taught us this. When you fight, you win. We are fighting, we are fired up, and we are not taking anymore. I'm trying to figure out the national, or Derek Johnson gets a $460,000 plus salary.
More than the president.
Salary, more than the president of the United States. He has a board members that approve that. I'm trying to figure out, are they a cult or they're just scared? How do you increase somebody's salary to 460 plus when all of us are volunteers that don't get paid at all, don't get a dime?
We reached out to the NAACP this week several times, and right before we went on the air, we got this statement. Go to my iPad feeds. Trevon Williams is the SVP for Marketing and Comms with the NAACP. He said, I wanted to make sure you receive our response. I believe our Office of General Counsel emailed, but in the interest of time, the NAACP firmly denies any allegations of defamation, harassment, or improper suspension against the individuals mentioned. Furthermore, each individual has received or is receiving due process in accordance with the NAACP bylaws. The NAACP does not comment on specific internal disciplinary actions for its members. Currently, the Black community is facing tremendous challenges, including attacks on voting rights, diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, crucial upcoming elections, women's rights, and most recently, threats to free speech. To effectively tackle these concerns, we must maintain the strength of both our national and local branches. Our focus remains on empowering our branches to effectively address and assist the needs of our community and to encouraging all eligible Black voters to cast ballots in the 2024 election, the most important election of our lifetime. That's the statement from the NAACP National Office. Final comment. I'm sorry, someone will say it.
Let me say that. I just reviewed that statement as you have read it also. I've been a member of this NAACP since '74. I'm a retired Vietnam, Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Gulf War veteran, 100% disabled. I volunteer my time. I've served as the president and interim president for the state of Oklahoma NAACP for going on 19 to 20 years. To see that statement, to shuck around with that statement, to say you're not going to comment, you're not going to address these issues. The Constitution bylaws give you that authority. When you raise the question about the 2019 organization in Delaware, then they threaten to say, if you bring that up, you talk about the Delaware Corporation, we're going to suspend you. You question my authority, you're going to suspend me. As the state conference president of Oklahoma, I have never had a sit-down one-on-one talk with Derek Johnson as president. You do not treat volunteers the way we have been treated. We're volunteers. We care. We're the one on the ground fighting and walking and putting our families' lives in danger behind representing the members in the community. Mm-hmm. Not just Derek Johnson. We're out here in the field. You don't tell me that during the George Floyd situation that the work that we did in the field did not help raise the money. Derek Johnson personally say it's because of him that the NAACP got the money, not what we do as leaders out in this field. So don't tell me that I don't count. This is a volunteer organization. We should have due process. You cannot belong to a volunteer organization and be told you have no rights, you have no due process. We can degrade you, talk down to you, and treat you like we want to treat you just because you're a volunteer. Volunteers have rights no matter what organization we're in. Even in the Klans, volunteers have rights. So we should have the same right in the NAACP.
Lori Walker.
I just wanted to share, this is exactly why we joined, because our branch was not responsive. LA County has some of the highest racial disparities in the country, and we have very little representation from the NAACP. I was sending Senate reports, I was sending data, and I was not getting any responses. And they actually exploited. They started hurting some of the cases. One of the stories was on your show, Yayo Resso. She was one of the stories that NAACP representatives didn't even contact the family for, and they went on the news in a press conference without the family's permission. So I want to stress that it's one thing to not be active and effective in the Black community. It's another to hurt and harm the Black community under the guise of being a civil rights organization.
Betty? Betty?
In their response, there's a couple of things that they said as far as what they do. And so one of the things I would like to see them do, at least in California, there's at least 5 harassment charges from 5 different women that hasn't been addressed. I'm one of the 5 and have documentation to prove it. So one of the things I'm sorry,
you say 5 different harassment allegations, 5 different women.
5 different women.
Against whom?
In California. In California.
Against other members? Against who?
Against some individuals on the executive committee, the California-Hawaii president. And so for them to say that they are busy fighting charges when there's harassment against women, one, try to look in your own backyard and deal with the women that are filing those charges internally. At the very least, acknowledge that it happened. Mm-hmm. Secondly, they're talking about they're fighting for elections, but yet internally there's so many things that's going on with their own elections. They are changing the script according to the bylaws. There's individuals whose name a total of 46 names were taken off of a ballot with no explanation at all. Leroy himself was suspended because he was a secretary challenging the election process. I was challenged, and things were just changed. People's names taken off of ballots. And so internally, when you appeal it, they throw them out. We appealed certain things that should not have happened when it came to the internal election process, and they would throw it out and said it had nothing to do with anything. And finally, the committee that handles the suspension is called the membership committee. And personally and collectively, we feel that they should eliminate that entire committee because they are actively not doing the due diligence. They're taking on personal assignments. And if you don't do right by those individuals, they will go forward with suspensions without due process. We're saying it should be a third-party entity that has a legal arm that looks into the investigation of any and all suspensions. That's what we're looking for.
Leroy?
Yes. I would like to say that I sent my appeal to Derek Johnson, Russell Williams, and Carmen Watkins. They did have me speak with one of their attorneys. I believe his name was Asante. And once I sent him the letter, the proof that I was vindicated, that I did the bank letter that I had proved that I did not take any funds of the bank. And when I asked him what he was going to do now that he had the proof, and he said that depended on Mr. Callender to see what he had to say. And he was supposed to be a representative of the national, and he telling me to go back to the same president that had suspended me wrongfully because of it was retaliation for what I had done as exposing the names of these people that had been taken off of this list, which is a much broader conversation than what we're having right now.
Rochelle?
I'm going to say this and close out with this here. We know that there's people around the country that are experiencing this because a lot of these chapters are in chaos. Philadelphia, you know, the election is supposed to be every 2 years. Philadelphia is going on the 4th year of not having an election because the friend of Derek Johnson is the president. The friend that we filed charges against for fraud is still the president. I'm saying that all of those around the country, you are not by yourself. We are keeping our options open. What we are not trying to do is tear down the NAACP because it has done good works across the country. But this administration, Derek Johnson, Sweet Love, Erica Kane, a so-called lawyer, Hoffman, all of them are on the click. Anytime you want to hang on to that $460,000 plus salary, when all of us out here put our money out of our pocket to continue to do the work of the NAACP, you are not alone. Call us. 323-696-2078. Email us your information, justice for NAACP members @gmail.com. When you fight, you win. We are not going to stand here and allow that clique to continue to oppress members that are out here doing the work.
All right. Well, look, we certainly appreciate y'all being on the show. Certainly keep us abreast of what happens next.
We keeping our options open. Trust me.
All right. Thanks so much to all of you. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Folks, got to go to break. We come back. we're going to discuss what's happening in Tarrant County, where the white DA there continues to defend the prosecution of Crystal Mason. This is going on 8 years. Now, after the appellate court throughout the conviction, he argued at the county commissioners meeting that he will continue to appeal the decision and try to prosecute her. We'll talk to one of the Tarrant County commissioners who challenged him in that meeting. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network. A lot of y'all have been asking me about the pocket squares that we have available on our website. You see me rocking the Shibori pocket square right here. It's all about looking different. Now look, summertime is coming up. Y'all know, I keep trying to tell fellas, change your look, please. You can't wear athletic shoes every damn wear. So if you're putting on linen suits, if you're putting on some summer suits, have a whole different look. The reason I like this particular pocket square, the Shibori, is because it's sort of like a flower and looks pretty cool here versus the traditional boring silk pocket squares. But also I like being a little different as well. So this is why we have these custom-made feather pocket squares on the website as well. My sister actually designed these after a few years ago. I was in this battle with Steve Harvey at Essence, and I saw this at a St. Jude fundraiser. I saw this feather pocket square, and I said, well, I got some ideas. So I hit her, and she sent me about 30 different ones. And so this completely changes your look. Now, some of you men out there, I had some dudes say, oh, man, I can't wear that. Well, if you ain't got swagger, that's not my problem. But if you're looking for something different to spruce up your look, fellas, ladies, if y'all looking to get your man a good gift, I've run into brothers all across the country with the feather pocket squares saying, see, check mine out. And so it's always good to see them. And so this is what you do. Go to RolandSMartin.com/pocket squares. You can order Shibori pocket squares or the custom-made pocket squares. Now, for the Shiboris, we're out of a lot of the different colors, and I think we're down to about 200 or 300. So you want to get your order in as soon as you can, because here's what happened. I got these several years ago, and the Japanese company signed a deal with another company, and I bought them before they signed that deal, and so I can't get access to any more from the company in Japan that makes them. And so get yours now. So come summertime, when I see y'all at Essence, y'all could be looking fly with the Shibori pocket square or the custom-made pocket square. Again, RolandSMartin.com/pocket squares. Go there now.
Hello, we're the Critter Fixers. I'm Dr. Bernard Hodges.
And I'm Dr. Terrence Ferguson.
And you're tuned in to
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, welcome back. This is a live look at the Florida A&M University Board of Trustees meeting, where they are asking a lot of questions of President Larry Robinson and his staff with regards to the funding, this donor gift of $237 million in stock that took place over the weekend. The president has announced on this call that given the scrutiny, given this heightened scrutiny, they are putting the processing of this donation on hold. These Board of Trustees members had no idea about this donation. There are lots of questions. I can tell y'all right now, there's actually not real money here. Okay, so just so you understand what's going on, there's not actual real money that's going on here. And so this was a $237 million in stock that was given to the university, but stock in a private company. Well, there are lots of questions of, what is this company? Is it a real company? What's the valuation of this company? And so we're going to talk further about that when we talk to a gentleman who's actually monitoring this. He's been posting a lot of information on social media. We'll talk to him later in the show, so we're just going to keep you updated on that. Now, folks, let's talk about the continuing mess in Tarrant County, where Crystal Mason continues to be terrorized by the Tarrant County DA. Now, remember, it was 8 years ago when Crystal Mason voted in the 2016 election. She thought she could vote. She filled out a provisional ballot. The ballot was never counted, but she was prosecuted. As a result of being indicted, because she was already on parole from a federal tax fraud conviction, she was sent back to federal prison to complete that term. 2 years was added to her sentence. They've been fighting it. They won in the Court of Appeals. Now, Tarrant County DA Phil Soros stood before the County Commissioner's Court this week to defend why he wants to appeal that decision and why he continues to terrorize Crystal Mason.
The Court of Criminal Appeals told the Fort Worth Court to perform a sufficiency analysis. Specifically, they told the court to determine if the state proved with sufficient evidence not only that Mason knew that she was on supervised release when she voted, but also that she actually realized that those circumstances, that the fact that she was on felony supervised release, that those circumstances rendered her ineligible to vote. A sufficiency review is not uncommon. The standard is well settled. It's something that courts do regularly. The appeals court in a sufficiency review, they are to look at the evidence, so they look back at the evidence, they're not in the light most favorable to the verdict. So they look back and say, okay, we know what the verdict was. The verdict was that she was found guilty. Now, is there sufficient evidence to support that verdict? But that's not what happened in the Second Court of Appeals this past March. Instead, the court reweighed the evidence. They acted like a fact finder. I like that piece of evidence. I'll take that. I don't believe that piece of evidence. I'm going to push it away. That's not what you do in a sufficiency standard. They credited and discredited evidence just like they were the fact finder. This is not a fact question. We are not here to talk about facts. This is a legal question, a matter of legal principle, sufficiency of the evidence. Their decision was a deviation from well-settled law on sufficiency reviews. So why is the state, why am I appealing this case? Well, I'll give you 3 reasons. Number 1, I want would-be illegal voters to know that we're watching and that we'll follow the law and we will prosecute illegal voting. I want those that vote legally to know that we're watching and that we're working to make sure that your vote's not going to be diluted by any illegal votes. And finally, this is a deviation from the well-settled law regarding sufficiency reviews, and it needs to be corrected. This case, if it's left standing, impacts every sufficiency case in the state of Texas, not just voting cases, murder cases, theft cases, capital murder cases. Any kind of case, this case, it's a published opinion, can be cited for a proposition that this is how you review sufficiency cases, and it's wrong. So we need the Court of Criminal Appeals to come in and tell the Second Court of Appeals that you need to do the sufficiency standard evaluation again. Happy to answer any of your questions.
Questions for Mr. Sorrells?
I have a bunch, but I'll wait until after public comment. But let me ask you this. How she did not vote. She submitted a provisional ballot.
One moment. I keep hearing chatter in the audience. I'm going to start watching and start removing people. That's not what we're going to do. So sit there, let the process play out. You'll have your opportunity to speak. Listen to what others are saying. Do not speak out or you'll be removed from the chambers. Go ahead.
So she didn't vote.
She did vote. She cast a provisional ballot, which is the same with voting.
That did not count. Where is the ballot, sir? What happened to the ballot?
I can't tell you what happened to the ballot.
What do they do with provisional ballot?
I'm not the elections administrator, so I don't know where the ballot is, no.
Chandler, do you know what they do with provisional ballots?
No, right now, ma'am, I don't know. My apologies.
It didn't count. Is that correct?
You're wrong. The Court of Criminal Appeals dispelled that quickly and said this was a vote. The question was not did she vote, it was did she actually realize that while she was on felony supervised supervision that she wasn't allowed to vote.
Okay, so the ballot was never cured, so it wasn't counted, so she didn't vote. How else
she did vote.
How else does else does the Court of Appeals weigh the sufficiency of the evidence without weighing the evidence?
They look at the evidence most favorable to the verdict. So they're not trying to figure out, did they get it right? They look to see if there's evidence. So you find your conclusion in an argument. They have a conclusion, guilty of the offense. So now they're going to look and see, is there evidence that supports that? Now, a normal trier of fact would say, look, this person testified and I don't believe anything they had to say. Or this person testified, I believe everything they had to say. Or you have another witness that says, I believe some of it, but part of that doesn't ring true. That's what a trier of fact does. That's not what an appellate court does. An appellate court looks at the law, not the facts.
It is sad to say that it is still true today, but Brother Malcolm X said this: the most disrespected person in America is the black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the black woman. The most neglected person in America is the black woman. You see, historically, we have been your mammies, your maids, and your mistresses. But today, we are your doctors, your lawyers, your judges, your teachers, your professors, your county commissioners, your vice president, and your Supreme Court justice. Indeed, we are the backbone of this democracy we call the United States. So instead of wasting our taxpayer dollars, as DA Sorrells just went after, going after a black woman who's been acquitted of an 8-year ordeal, why don't you go after the candidate who was declared ineligible to run for Mansfield ISD trustee place 2, who did vote in the March Republican primary, despite being ineligible at the time?
I believe Crystal Mason did not know she was not eligible to vote when she cast a provisional ballot. She only voted a provisional ballot, and it was never cured, and her vote was never counted. She served time in jail, and her case went through the courts and appeal process. I believe the only reason DA Sorrells wants to reverse her appeal is because he wants to engage in voter suppression. He just wants to instill fear in voters.
I'm adding my voice of disbelief to the action of the district attorney in seeking to restore Crystal Mason's conviction. As the appellate court noted, in reversing the conviction, the state's evidence was not sufficient to, quote, prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she actually knew that being on supervised release after having served her entire federal sentence of incarceration made her ineligible to vote by casting a provisional ballot when she did so. Yes, voting is a cornerstone of our democracy, and that is exactly why the prosecution against her never should have happened.
Our Tarrant County DA's office stated, and I quote, "Voting is a cornerstone of our democracy. This office will protect the ballot box from fraudsters who think our laws don't apply to them." Now, when your office was given information about Angel Hidalgo, a disgraced, ineligible Mansfield ISD school board candidate for place 2, you chose not to act. Even our local school board, which does lack integrity, chose to at least find Mr. Hidalgo ineligible, and he even if he received the most votes, he would not have been able to actually take a position on our local school board.
The public is not on your side on this issue, DA Sorrells, which is concurrent with the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals ruling which acquitted her of any wrongdoing. Why is our DA now appealing this acquittal? Maybe it's because the so-called Voter Integrity Task Force, which has prosecuted 0 offenses, grasping at straws to justify the expense of our county taxpayer dollars. Maybe it's because we like to target minority women of color to intimidate them not to show up at the polls. Maybe it's an homage to Trump's call to Tarrant County when he lost the vote to Biden in 2020 to look into voter fraud, in line with his lies that the election was stolen. I am tired of our county officials wasting tax money while targeting people of color as their expression of allegiance to Trump. I am tired of black Tarrant County citizens being disenfranchised, dehumanized, and incarcerated based on illegitimate and incompetent charges. The money wasted on useless voter suppression tactics would be better spent on a public defender's office specializing in mental health.
Right now is Tarrant County Commissioner Elisa Simmons. Commissioner Simmons, glad to have you here. It is abundantly clear that this is a massive waste of taxpayer dollars. Have you, Commissioner Brooks, or any other commissioner, asked this DA to tabulate how many hours have been committed by the Tarrant County DA's office to this single case?
Not yet. What I did Tuesday was ask how much of our taxpayer dollars will be committed to this frivolous, wasteful pursuit to overturn the appeal. If you have time to listen to that entire exchange, he said something about committing one attorney to this case. He wouldn't give a number, and made some asinine comment again about saying, well, he's going to commit one attorney to this appeal. Just ridiculous.
But was it nonsensical? This was 2016. We've had the 2018 midterms, the 2020 presidential election, the 2022 midterm election. Now we're moving towards the 2024 presidential election, and they are still doing. It's like, dude, it's one person.
One person. Look, this DA.
And as you said, the ballot never counted. It was a provisional ballot. It was never processed. It never went through.
This guy is trying to make a name for himself, and he sees this as an easy way to do it. I guess they ought to be embarrassed. Look, this guy, Judge Sorrells, the sheriff, the MAGA sheriff, Bill Wayborn, and our county judge, who you just watched be rude to the audience because they moaned or sighed or something like that. These three guys came up with this election integrity unit. So we now have this election integrity unit that we have to pay staff to staff it, and they're supposed to go out and identify cases of alleged voter fraud. This county has had probably 3 to 5 voter fraud cases in the past decade. There's no proliferation of voter fraud in Tarrant County. So I guess they're going to keep going after poor Ms. Mason to try and prove something. It doesn't make sense. The public commenters said it much better than I can. You heard them. This is a waste of taxpayer dollars. Where's the sufficiency? Just all of it. It's ridiculous. And we had probably a historic turnout Tuesday for a number of reasons. And because I anticipated the turnout, I agendized this topic, and you saw this DA's poor performance in answering questions from a layperson.
Right.
I'm not an attorney. This is embarrassing, and I will continue to call this crap out until I can't do it anymore.
Are you planning on keeping this on the agenda every month to force this DA to come before the court and explain himself? Because his money comes from the taxpayers.
Yeah, I like that idea. I've done it before on a different issue. I just agendized it week after week after week after week.
So y'all meet weekly or monthly?
No, we meet the first and third Tuesday of each month.
Listen, I would haul his ass down, have him have to stand there every week and defend this, and hopefully people keep coming out and protesting, because it is shameful. And what are your other colleagues saying? I mean, are any of them ticked off by this constant? Pull the commissioners up. Go ahead and show the graphic. Are any of them standing with you saying, DA, this is idiotic. What are you doing?
No. Now, in his defense, Commissioner Brooks was out yesterday. I think he was at a conference or something. But the other three sat there dead silent. The one in the center is the ringleader of all of this. We have a MAGA court. You see the Precinct 1, Precinct 2 were the Democrats, and then the other 3 are MAGA. And so we frequently get outvoted on everything. Whatever we put on the agenda for our constituents, our communities, our nonprofits, get voted down by these 3. So, people have to vote.
Right.
But we will keep, the 2 of us won't be able to do anything about Miss Mason except for call it out, get the public commenters down there to speak to it. We had a record amount of public commenters yesterday and Tuesday, and many of them spoke to this issue. This is ridiculous. When I tell you how overcrowded our jail is,
right,
something done needs to be focusing on reducing the backlog of viable cases that he has. But no, he wants to play games with this woman's life and with our taxpayer dollars. Y'all, it is crazy here. Tarrant County is the last large urban red county in this country. And they are not wanting to let loose because they would like to play games like this with this woman's life. This is crazy.
I'm going to put in my panel right now, Reese Colbert, host Sirius XM radio show out of D.C., Dr. Greg Carr, Department of Afro-American Studies at Howard University out of D.C., and Lauren Victoria Burt, writing for Black Press USA out of Arlington, Virginia. Lauren, you first.
I'm wondering why have you heard from anyone from like a national organization that does voting? I mean, obviously Black voters are always told, of course, to vote harder and all that. I'm wondering if you've heard from the national NAACP or even the White House on this, because it seems to me that this person, Phil Sorrells, who's obviously obsessed with Crystal Mason, he should get his wish with regard to being famous. He should be made famous by every voting rights organization, anybody who cares about voting rights in the United States. And he should be made famous for all the wrong reasons. Have you heard from anybody on sort of a national level about
I have
this case?
No, ma'am, not since he announced this back on April 25th. Now, Crystal has some great local attorneys, and she has ACLU of Texas attorneys as well. And so I consulted them just in the past week about this case and how I should approach my line of questioning. But this guy was so abrasive and, and dismissive. And I've been here since 10 a.m., so I'm not going to stay here any longer. You ask your questions now. I have work to do. But no, I have not heard from the national organizations. But I need to, and I need some help. And I appreciate this forum, and I know you've had Attorney Kim Coles on before. I appreciate this forum to hopefully elevate this and get this out there. I need help. There are only 2 of us, and you got to count to 10.
Absolutely. Reese.
Commissioner, thank you for being here. Can you explain exactly the process? This hearing, I wasn't really clear if this was a hearing to grant his appeal or this is a hearing to just explain his appeal. Can you walk us through where exactly this is in the process of this DA trying to recharge Crystal Mason?
Well, she was acquitted or got the ruling. I think it was March 28th.
Yeah, it was March 26th. You had the Court of Appeals that threw out her conviction. Okay. And so the Tarrant County DA is seeking to appeal that ruling of the Court of Appeals.
Okay, and so what you just witnessed, commissioners meet the first and third Tuesday of the month. And so this was our first meeting since the DA announced he was going to appeal that ruling. Okay, and so I agendized this to get a briefing from him. He needs to come to Commissioner's Court and tell us why he has chosen to appeal this, what it's going to cost, so on and so forth. And so he was there to take our questions. And so when we have an item that is agendized, the public can sign up to speak to it, and so they also asked questions and had comments to make. So that's what you were watching, the first Commissioner's Court since his announcement that he was going to appeal.
Greg.
Thank you, Roland, and thank you, Commissioner Simmons. In reading one of the reports about what we were just viewing in terms of the meeting, I read that Crystal Brown, a Florence Hill resident, said that she wanted to thank Mr. O'Hare for waking the sleeping Black Panther of Tarrant County. I'm wondering if you see this as perhaps a galvanizing moment, and forgive me if I have this incorrect, but last month, did this punk O'Hare, this Faith, Family, and Freedom punk, the judge, did he tell you you'll sit there and be quiet? I'm just trying to. I mean, these guys are talking with impunity. Could this be a moment to spark Black people to finally get together in what appears to be a county of over 2 million people, majority non-white, at least if it's 44%, I understand white, although there's some white Hispanics as well. You know, could this be a flashpoint moment with these guys just talking so crazy, telling you to be quiet, telling apparently law enforcement to be prepared to remove people from the building if they look like they're going to be disruptive? Who the hell do they think they're talking to, Commissioner? And could this be a moment to kind of get our people fired?
Sir, yes. So our last meeting, I questioned a contract that he had on the agenda to hire a Republican political consultant to work in his office. Well, we don't use county tax dollars to pay Republican or Democratic political consultants to work for us, you know. And so I questioned his contract. Commissioner Brooks, the brother you see, questioned the contract, really went hard on him. And the public speakers did. And so I went last and I said, well, I agree with Commissioner Brooks. And he lit into me and tried to question me about his contracts. Well, you have staff that are posting political stuff on I said, we're not talking about my social media. We're talking about your contract. And he tried to ask me questions. I said, oh, okay, I'll answer one of his questions. In the process, he said, you be quiet. You sit there and listen to me until I'm finished. Wow. And so you got to see the video. And
we're going to find that video.
I cuss really. I cuss. Don't let how I cuss really bad. But I didn't. And I just simply said, who are you? Like, you cannot tell me when and when not to speak. And so that was the thing that caught everybody's attention. And so a lot of local organizations, white, Black, purple, Hispanic, faith-based, not the Divine Nine, planned direct action, and yesterday or Tuesday they came to court. And because I knew that they were planning it, I was not in on the planning, I decided I'm going to agendize Crystal Mason. And I was quite alarmed because we will have a lot of people there. I was hearing a lot of people were coming, so I decided let's agendize Crystal Mason so the people aren't there at a commissioner's court meeting bored listening to us talk about contracts for HVAC.
Yep.
I agendized Crystal Mason. I agendized the jail deaths. We have a proliferation of jail deaths. We had 2 in a matter of 4 days. The last one was after an altercation, and so I agendized the sheriff to come give us an update on that. I agendized the DA to come give us a briefing on the Crystal Mason case. The sheriff refused to come, and anyway, they got wind that there was going to be a crowd there, and we had historic attendance. They had to do 2 overflows. My staff came and got me from the parking garage because now I have to have some personal protection when I'm downtown. And we walked up to the building and I said, what on earth is all of this response? There were sheriff's units around the building. There were 40 sheriff's deputies teaming all throughout the small administration building. They were everywhere. Just disrespectful, because you anticipate black people are coming to their commissioner's court, just like the White House, that's the people's house, commissioner's court's people's house. And so it was a galvanizing moment. So there were people there talking about the disrespect to Simmons, Commissioner Simmons, Crystal Mason, and the jail deaths. And so it was overflow. We had pastors and bishops, and it's just so many people. And the good thing about it is they were amazed. There were 2 mega church pastors sitting in my office after a break, and I went to speak to them, and they said, I'm sorry. We had no idea this is what Commissioner's Court deals with. I said, oh, how long have you been sitting here? They'd been there since 10 o'clock and watched that man talk rudely. He didn't want the people to speak. They couldn't sign. They couldn't clap. They couldn't. And understand, in Texas, all 254 counties, they have a 5-member commissioner's court.
Right.
The county judge has no more authority than the 4 commissioners. He presides the meetings. He can declare an emergency without the commissioner.
Right.
Like a burn ban. If it's, summertime and the grass is dry, he can do that. Other than that, he has no more authority than I do. He has no more influence. There's no more influence over the budget. But the power this man has is he's got 3 votes.
Right. It's the same. Look. In Harris County, Democrats now control the county commissioner's court, which is why they've been trying to take out Lena Hidalgo. And so, because that's the case now, they broke that Republican grip. Republicans used to control the Dallas County Commissioner's Court. Now Democrats control that as well, and that's really what's ticking off all these MAGA Republicans. That Democrats control Dallas County, they control Harris County, they control Bexar County, they control Travis County, and so Tarrant County is really the last large county in Texas that Republicans have control over. Well, you could go ahead. So you could go ahead and tell the sheriff's department that they're gonna need to do that again. I've already sent a text message to a variety of folk. We plan on coming down to Fort Worth to also have a larger rally. And so I've been talking to Reverend Frederick Douglass Haynes, who's there in Dallas. And so we'll be communicating with you, getting information on the next commissioners meeting when we plan this action, because this is not just Crystal Mason. It's what they did to the brother in Harris County who stood in line for 6 hours. They scared that brother to death so bad. He says, I'm not going to vote in the election again. We saw what happened in Florida when Ron DeSantis sicked his dogs on formerly incarcerated folk, arrested them. All the charges were thrown out. They were trying to, again, keep those formerly incarcerated folks from casting ballots. This is what MAGA Republicans are doing across the country. And so the amount of resources to targeting this one woman is offensive. And that's why I say Phil Soros is terrorizing Crystal Mason. Right. There's no other way to look at this here. This is one case, 8 years old. This man is spending more time going after this one woman who cast a provisional ballot than they do fighting other serious crime in the county, and it's shameful. And this is trying to create a chilling effect to tell black folks in Tarrant County, we're going to do the same thing to you. And so this is why black folks in Tarrant County and Fort Worth have got to rise up and vote their numbers in these elections, because these people can be beat, but they have the power because we also don't turn out in maximizing our numbers.
We have more registered Democrats in Tarrant County than Republicans.
Well,
it's a turnout game.
Yep.
These people got to turn out. They can't call me.
Yep. Mad and upset. Yeah.
Right. And I was the NAACP president in Arlington for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've told people, don't stop calling me. And now I've gotten elected. And I had more authority, more power, more influence as NAACP president than I have.
Right. You were the chapter president when I spoke there?
Yes, that was me.
Yes. All right. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, listen, we're coming. And so they better add some more sheriff folk because the number of folk we're going to have out there is going to be much larger than what they saw this past week. And the pressure has to stay on them. Absolutely, I would put Crystal Mason on the agenda at every commissioner's meeting, and that way he got to haul his behind there and face the people and not hide behind closed doors.
Yes, sir. Thank you for hearing from me. This has been therapeutic. It is insane.
Yep.
What's happening here.
All right. Tell Roy Brooks I'm calling him next to have him on the show as well. So I saw him a couple of weeks ago. So tell him I'm hitting him up.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch.
And I want to say thank you to everybody that came out. It was amazing. It's a lonely proposition up there. I'm just telling you.
Yep.
And for the turnout, overflow, seeing people everywhere was amazing.
All right, then.
Thank you.
Won't be the last time you're on. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, folks. We'll come back. We're going to chat with Ben Crump about this case out of Tulsa. We're going to talk the Florida A&M donation. Folks, this is why you got to support Roland Martin Unfiltered. I keep telling y'all this, and it's not a lie. There is no other black-owned media outlet that covers black news every single day. There is no other black news outlet that literally hits the road to cover the stories that we cover every single day. We went down to Bethune-Cookman last year. We went down to Tennessee State. We're gonna go down there to Tarrant County. We were there with Reverend Barber when at the Poor People's March, Voting Rights March in Austin area as well. And so your support is crucial for us being able to do these things. I can tell you right now, bringing 3 of my team members, us traveling down there with our gear and everything, that's gonna be easily a $10,000 to $15,000 trip. See, these networks, they're earning millions. I was on a call today with Dentsu, the ad agency, talking to them. I've been on calls with Publicis. I'm waiting on Group M next month. Horizon not returning our phone calls. You're gonna get called out. So we're out here trying to cover this stuff, but it takes resources, and we wanna go down there, live stream this rally, and we cover this event. So, send your check and money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next-generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit StartEngine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
On a Next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, the necessity of believing in things you can't see. It's called faith. It comes in all shapes and sizes, and it's powerful. And it's a big part of being able to live a balanced life.
The valley I experienced being a cancer survivor was one where my footing was completely unstable. I had no idea what to do. And in that instance of not knowing what to do, I had to rely on faith.
That's all next on A Balanced Life, only on Black Star Network.
First President Barack Obama's road to the White House. We got about 500 copies of the book available. And so this actually is all of the coverage of the 2008 election. But the other thing is this here. I talked to folks like Malik Yoba, Hill Harper, Erica Alexander, Kevin Lau, Spike Lee, Tatiana Ali. But there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff in here as well, where I talked about some of the stuff that went down at CNN. Also, when you go through here, a lot of the photos that you see in here, photos that I actually shot, photos that were my time at CNN. And so what I decided to do, because one, I published the book and I own it myself, is that so I said, you know what, I'm going to slash the price to $10. And so we're going to have shipping and handling, $5.99. I'm going to personally autograph every copy. I'm not reprinting the book. So once we are sold out of these 500, that's it. They're gone. So you can go to RolandSMartin.com/the first to get a copy of this book. Everybody who orders this book through the website, not on Amazon, only through RolandSMartin.com. I will personally autograph and mail you a copy of this book. It's all of the covers, the actual interviews that I did with him. And just to show you, of course, when it came out, there's actually even in here the interviews that I did with him and Michelle Obama, which won TV One cable networks its first 2 NAACP image reports. And so all of that for $10. Shipping and handling is $5.99. So go to RolandSMartin.com the first and order your copy today.
Hey, what's up? Geek Tony in the place to be. Got Cake Touch Your Mama's University, creator and executive producer of Fat Tuesdays, the air hip-hop comedy. But right now, I'm rolling with Roland Martin, unfiltered, uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable. You hear me?
Folks, another shameful story of police action, this time out of Florida. A senior airman, a black Air Force senior airman, has been shot and killed by Florida Sheriff's deputies. 23-year-old Senior Airman Roger Fortson was fatally shot on May 3rd after the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office burst into his home. Reports said the deputy was responding to a call about a disturbance in progress and reacted in self-defense after seeing Fortson with a gun. But family attorney Ben Crump says the officers were at the wrong address and did not identify himself when knocking on the door. Fortson, reportedly on the phone, retrieved his gun when he did not see anyone outside. But the knocking continued. Crump and Roger's family viewed the body cam footage today. Ben Crump joins us right now. Ben, so what the heck happened here? What were they even executing? Was a disturbance?
Roland, it's unbelievable. This young man was a model United States member of the armed forces. He has no criminal history in his background. He was on the phone with his girlfriend on FaceTime the whole time leading up to this. The family is adamant. Everything that we know about this case tells us they went to the wrong apartment. And when you see once that door opened, he told him to step back. Roger was very, very respectful of law enforcement. He stepped back in a split second, Roland, in a split second. He shot him 6 times. And what is being left out of this argument, out of this case, is they keep saying, well, he had a gun when he came to the door. Well, the reality is, said they didn't hear the police identify themselves. He said who it is, and nobody identified himself based on what the girlfriend said, and she's going to do her own press conference, so it's not lost in any translation. But when he saw a black man with a gun, even though he was a law-abiding citizen with a registered license to carry a weapon, Second Amendment rights, that police lit him up. And right after he shot him, he then said while he was on the ground, toss the gun. He didn't give any verbal commands to drop the gun or put your hands in the air when he came open that door. And that's what's troubling, Roland. They continue to try to justify the unjustified killings, even our best young people.
Did they knock down the door, or did Fortson open the door?
The video shows it opens in less than a second. He then began shooting.
So wait a minute.
Hit him 6 times.
So wait a minute. Fortson opens the door. And instead of the officer saying, come out with your hands up, the moment he opens the door, the officer starts firing.
Starts firing. Roland, when you see this video, you got Roland. I mean, it is deplorable when you look at how fast he took this young man's life. And this young man was outstanding in every way. He was in special ops rolling. He had did a tour of duty. He was taking care of his mother and was the hero to his little 10-year-old sister and 16-year-old brother. In fact, there's a photo we'll get to you. He was so proud of being in the United States Air Force. He had an airman's uniform on, and he bought his 9-year-old little sister at the time airman's uniform, and it's so adorable because she is saluting him. And this is the type of person we had that they are trying to make out to be the bad guy. He wasn't the bad guy, he was a good guy.
Questions from the panel, Reese?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Crump, for bringing attention to this case. What about the neighbor that supposedly led the police to Mr. Fortson's door? What have they said, if anything, about the situation?
You're brilliant, Miss Reese, because you get to the crux of the matter. When you watch the video and you listen to her describe what's going on and that it's 1401, well, the reality is he is in that apartment by himself on FaceTime with his girlfriend with his little dog. There is no domestic disturbance. They went to the wrong apartment, and God help that leasing agent at the apartment if she's the person who sent them to the wrong apartment, because that is the question. Were they at the right apartment? But even beyond that, you watch that video, I mean, it has so many troubling questions that become apparent. Number one, why didn't he give verbal commands to put down the weapon, put your hands up versus just unloading on him? Number two, when he's on the ground, he then gives the command, toss your weapon. And Roger couldn't have been more respectful of authority. He said, I did. And then when you look at his girlfriend's FaceTime video, he's saying, I can't breathe. And the officer yelling, stop moving, stop moving. And he's like, I can't breathe. And they don't offer him any medical assistance. And you watch this 23-year-old American patriot die right before our eyes.
Lauren?
Ben, it's Lauren Burke. Do you know, is there anything you can talk about with regard to the police officer, the age of the cop, any prior record of abuse, or the time on the force? Any experience at that address before?
Miss Lauren, we don't have any information about the cop. Obviously, they want to try to assassinate his character because the first statement that came out from them was they didn't mention he was a military officer or anything. This is in Fort Walton, Florida, where Eglin Air Force Base is at. It's full of military people. They didn't want to say that. They said officer responding to a domestic dispute kills a armed citizen, in self-defense. Well, the issue is you came to his apartment. He had every right to have a gun. This is Florida, for God's sakes. Every citizen is encouraged to have a firearm. He is an officer who is militarily trained. He's one of the people we want to have guns. He's responsible. He's very diplomatic. He's very a rule follower. I mean, he was the person who you would say, if you're going to be a gun owner, how about we have that guy who's trained to use firearms? And so, but when he had that gun, they tried to say, oh, it was self-defense. And it suggested, Lauren, that he did something bad, that he was a criminal or something, when there was nothing further from the truth. The officer went to the wrong apartment.
Thanks.
This right here, give me 1 second. I'm pulling it up. Give me 1 second. And I'm going to advance this. because folks, this is the body cam footage. I'll talk over, so go to the body cam footage. This is the deputy arriving at the scene. The body cam footage was released publicly just 3 hours ago, folks. And so
listen closely, Roland.
All right, got it, folks. Turn the audio up. We'll stop talking. Turn the audio up. Go.
Howdy, sir.
What's going on?
I'm not sure. I just was told to let her know if you guys come by.
Okay.
So I'm going to give her a quick call and let you guys know. Let her know.
So there was a fight going on or something?
I was not present for that.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Are they fighting or something?
Saying that it happens frequently.
Okay.
But this time it sounded like it was getting out of hand.
Okay, which door?
I'm not sure. 2 weeks ago, I was walking by their apartment, basically, on this side, and I was hearing someone yell, like, shut the f*** up, like, you stupid B-word and all this other stuff, and I heard a slap, like, right after it, but I wasn't sure where it came from, and I couldn't call, like, I didn't want to call the police, and, like, you know.
Which room is it?
1401.
1401, okay.
1401. But the girl sounded scared, the one that called. She said, she was like, it's getting out of, it sounds like it's getting really out of hand.
So it's number 4.
Hey, Ben, she said 1401. Was that Fortson's apartment number?
It was, yeah.
Okay, hold on one second. Okay, got it.
She said she wasn't sure initially where the unit was at, but then she said 1401.
312-111. $312-111. Sheriff's office, open the door! Sheriff's office, open the door! Step out. Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Drop the gun! 312, shots fired. Suspect down. Do not move! 312, get EMS my location.
Unbelievable.
Oh, all right. Now let me. That's the end of the body cam video there. I mean, absolutely, Ben. No warning. Door barely opens. Barely opens.
Didn't tell them to drop their weapon. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Didn't tell them to drop their weapon. He didn't give the verbal command, drop the weapon, put your hands up, nothing. Said step back, Roger was stepping back, never raised the weapon.
Right.
It was in his right hand. And he just unloaded on him, Roland Martin.
At no point in this did he ever give the order to drop the weapon, nothing. It was like literally that door opened, he saw a black man with a gun and he fired. And as you said, we're in Florida. You can have a gun in your home.
Yep. Hey, Roland, it's so deep. When you look at him on the ground and he start giving the commands after he's been shot, I mean, Roger's even complying then. He says, toss the weapon. And he says, I tossed it. I mean, he couldn't have been more compliant, but it didn't matter because for whatever reason, I think we all know the reason, when he saw that gun in his hand, he just said, bad guy. And Roger was...
Damn.
Yeah, nothing in his record. It's unblemished, Roland. He was a decorated airman. He was in special ops. I mean, he was doing everything right.
Greg Carr.
Thank you, Roland. Thank you, Brother Crump. I wasn't aware that black people are encouraged in Florida to be armed. In fact, I think we should probably stop talking about a right to be armed. There is no right to be anything in the United States of America when you're black. Not really. At least if the law means more than just some words on a page. But I want to ask you about the question. The question I have to ask is, what is the cost to this struggle against these murderers for us to continue to frame the victims as good as opposed to bad people when no one should be executed by the hunter? From what I've read, the hunter has been put on administrative leave, probably paid. The deputy hunter, the one who strode so confidently to the door and as an accessory before the fact named the apartment 1401, certainly won't be punished. She's a deputy cop, as are all people who do this kind of thing. But what's the strategic value of us mounting a defense of someone as a good person as if there is anyone who deserves to be murdered by these murderers? Is there some concession? And then does the burden then shift from the killers to the victims when we start talking about good people as opposed to bad people? Should it matter, and why or why not?
It shouldn't matter, but unfortunately, we live in America where race is always an issue, and they try to criminalize our race. They will assassinate our character after they assassinate us. And that's what they're attempting to do. He tried to say self-defense. It reminds you of Botham Jean in Dallas, Texas, when the policewoman went to the wrong apartment and killed him. And they're talking about, I was in fear of my life, self-defense. It's the same notion that it doesn't matter how good the black person is. They still try to justify the unjustifiable killings of our people. It happens over and over. Atiana Jefferson, I mean, we can just go down the list. And it's all these black people who are in their own home, in the sanctity of their own dwelling, their castle, and their sanctuary, Breonna Taylor. But yet they all get killed and then they all try to justify it. And so it shouldn't matter whether they have an unblemished record or not. But we know, without a shadow of a doubt, if he would have had a checkered past, that's all we would have heard about from the victim. We still won't know anything about this killer officer. We won't hear one word about his past.
Ben Crump, we hate to have you on for these type of stories, and we hate to have to show those videos. But the reality is we're left with no choice because this is what happens to us all too often. We will keep on this case, and we will certainly see what is next.
Hey, thank you, Roland Martin. Thank you for covering our stories.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Ben. Folks, going to a break. We come back. We're going to stay in Florida. The Florida A&M University Board of Trustees meeting is over. And frankly, there are more questions that we have after the meeting than we had before the meeting. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support our work. Join our Bring the Fuck fan club. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. You can send your check and money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
I'm Dr. Greg Carr, and coming up on the next Black Table, thinking about the Black freedom movement in a global way. Dr. John Monroe joins us to discuss his book, The Anti-Colonial Front, which maps the social justice movement in the United States and its impact internationally, from Asia to Africa, and how movements like anti-communism were used to slow down racial equality, like critical race theory today.
Critical race theory today, communism back then, that's essentially mobilized to shut down any challenges to a given system of power.
Connecting the civil rights movement to colonialism on the next Black Table, exclusively here on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
Hey, what's up? It's Sammy Roman.
Hey, it's John Murray, the executive producer of the new Sherry Shepherd Talk Show.
It's me, Sherry Shepherd, and you know what you're watching, Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Well, a few moments ago, the Florida A&M Board of Trustees meeting ended where they were discussing this multi-million-dollar donation from a Gregory Jerami and the Isaac Batterson the Seventh Family Trust. The check presentation took place this weekend, where he also was the commencement speaker. It is the largest donation given to Florida A&M and certainly one of the largest to an HBCU in history. The board had an emergency meeting today because there have been so many questions surrounding this particular gift. This here was the video Florida A&M released on social media about this donation. Turn the audio up, please.
And sign this agreement on behalf of Florida A&M University, the Jerami Family Foundation.
The $237 million gift is more than the size of the FAMU endowment value and represents one of the largest single personal donations to a historically Black college and university.
To be able to give back to HBCU at this level is important to me. To be able to choose, for our foundation, to be able to choose a university where our legacy will continue and will be the most impactful for generations and generations to come. That is the most important thing to our foundation and us.
President Dr. Larry Robinson says this donation will have a far-reaching impact on the academics and the athletics programs at Florida A&M University.
Well, we are extremely grateful and ecstatic about this game-changing donation to Florida A&M University.
Jerami is the founder of Batterson Farms Corporation and a champion of sustainable agriculture and biodegradable hemp products in Texas. For Florida A&M University, I'm Giovanni Hampton.
All right, folks. Well, after that news came out, it took everyone by surprise. So folks began to ask themselves the question, who is this guy? Who is Gregory Jerami? Well, Jarrell Blakely penned an op-ed in Education Newsflash called "For the Love of Money, Has FAMU Been Fooled?" He's been posting a number of different things on social media about Gregory Jerami, and these are questions that, frankly, were not answered in today's board meeting. Jeremy joins us from Indianapolis. So glad to have joins us from Indianapolis. So Jarrell, I listened to about an hour of the board meeting. I had to go live on the show. And so I'm listening to this conversation, and they had the company on that handles investments for Florida A&M, and they were talking about paperwork, things along those lines. So basically, those guys did not vet any of this. And so then I had to jump off right when they had the official on talking about the vetting process and how this Jerami reached out to them, how they began to have conversations with him. He wanted to make a donation to the school. After the Spelman donation was announced, $100 million, they said, well, he wanted to increase his offer. Then they began to talk about this courtship. So basically, let's just, for everybody who doesn't understand, FAMU has not gotten any money. There's actually no money. So this $237 million number that people are hearing, this number, is not a real number. What he has given them is stock certificates in this privately held company where he has assigned the value of these stocks to be $237 million. And what they did was, so he assigned, if I'm correct, a $15.85 price per share, and he's given Florida A&M University 15 million shares in this company. But it's a private company. So the reality is, it's not a publicly traded company right now. So until there's an IPO, or until someone privately buys this company, Florida A&M ain't got no money from this guy, right? Did you hear the same thing that I heard?
Well, first, Brother Roland, thank you for having me on here. I'm really honored to be on here to discuss this very important issue. Today's foundation board meeting at FAMU was a disgrace. And I believe that it was a symbol of institutional failure at Florida A&M University. What we learned today was that the trust contains several million shares of worthless stock. There is no value to Batterson Farms. It doesn't have any land. It doesn't have all of the necessary licenses. It doesn't have any employees. It doesn't have any revenue that would allow it to be evaluated anywhere near $100 million evaluation. And so today's meeting was disturbing, to say the least. The fact that Florida A&M allowed this man to basically con them into accepting worthless shares led the president and leadership to not share this with their board, either the foundation board or the university board, because of a NDA is quite frankly preposterous. For FAMU to basically share that they received a worthless gift, I mean,
right.
It means nothing. I mean, it's completely.
I mean, just for everybody who's watching. Okay, I own this company. I own Black Star Network 100%. It's a private company. If I right now, I could say, I'm going to gift Texas Southern University, I'm going to gift Paul Quinn College 15 million shares of stock in the Black Star Network. Now, even though I have an actual company, I've got employees, I've got revenue, I can then say, and this is listening to the call, I could say, I am assigning a value of this stock of $15.85 a share. I can just do it on my own. No one, because what happens is, unless there's an IPO, then you can call it whatever you want to call it. That's what this guy has done.
Well, so let me actually.
And then, Jarrell, when I was listening, here's what I never heard, and I was waiting on it. Did FAMU leadership ever visit this guy's company? Did they ever visit his office? Did they ever confirm how many employees he has? Go to my iPad. Tallahassee Democrat has this story. Woman listed as co-CEO with FAMU donor says she never worked for him. Kimberly Abbott, who formerly served on the city council in Birmingham, has known Jerami for years, long before the 30-year-old was celebrated for his donation. in an operation that Jerami himself says employs only a few full-time administrators in a workforce of 7,000 contract employees. Abbott was listed as co-CEO and vice chair of Batterson Farms Corporation, where Jerami is CEO. When asked if she worked at Batterson Farms, Abbott said, "I never did." Jarrell, that's called massive red flag.
So here's the thing, Brother Roland. They didn't even have to visit these places. They could have merely Googled. So when I heard about this sort of gift on Saturday, I just Googled. It took me about 10, 15 minutes to realize that this was a complete hoax. I don't understand how it took me 10 minutes to figure out that this was a hoax. And it took FAMU months of
6 months. They claim it was a vetting process that lasted 6 months.
It took me 15 minutes to realize that this was completely a hoax, which is why I was able to write an op-ed so quickly, because it was apparent. And so the fact of the matter is, this is embarrassing, and I feel really bad for a number of reasons. Number one, the students. Those students who graduated from Florida A&M University worked really hard to graduate, and the fact that they had to hear from this flim-flam artist is actually shocking. I can remember my commencement address speaker. I graduated from Howard University, and we had some really, really esteemed individuals to give the commencement address. The fact that a university like FAMU did not do their due diligence and allowed this man to con them. Listen, the president of, what's that?
Well, but for the people who are on the call, here's what's even crazy. They're on the call, they're discussing the donation. I thought I heard this correct, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, where they said some questions came up and they still let them speak. I was listening going, whoa, did I just hear that? They literally said some questions arose, but the president made the decision, yes, let's move forward with him as commencement speaker. I was like...
So let me say this. So let me say this. FAMU deserves better. The fact that this happened is an institutional failure of massive proportions. The fact that this man was vetted or wasn't vetted, and they allowed him to speak is just outrageous. And so, it took me just a few moments to realize that this gentleman was a fraud and a hoax. And so I don't understand how you had an entire university infrastructure. I was listening to the vice president of advancement and the head of the foundation, who actually mentioned that she didn't actually even Google this gentleman, or she didn't do any due diligence. When you look at, it was very easy to figure out that this guy was not kosher. When you look at what he did at Coastal Carolina University, they could literally pick up the phone and call the advancement office to say, hey, what's the deal with someone who is giving this large amount to FAMU? And so overall, I just want to say FAMU deserves so much more. And for folks who think that I'm picking on FAMU, I'm a Howard graduate. If this happened at Howard, I would do the exact same thing. I just think that it speaks to a culture at FAMU's leadership that allows themselves to be conned when they literally could have spent 15 minutes or 10 minutes and realized this was not to be.
I mean, let's be clear. So, you pulled us up. First of all, the guy just created a website. I mean, if you do a search, it is as if this guy's a ghost. But when you pull stuff up, and I'm just sort of shaking my head, going, what in the hell were the FAMU folks doing? And of course, the president now says they're putting this thing, on ice. But I'm still I'm still trying to understand some basic things. What does he have a real business? Have you seen it? Have you been to the offices?
No.
He supposedly the stocks are in hydroponic and agriculture business. Have you seen any of it? Has anybody with Florida A&M physically said, yes, We visited his corporate office. We saw the farms. We met with workers. On that, everything I heard in that call, nobody ever said that. When I got off after about an hour, did you hear anybody say that?
No. So that is what's actually outrageous. The fact of the matter is you have an advancements office. You have a president. And the fact that the president did not let the board know is malfeasance of a highest level. I can tell you that it's incompetence. And I'll just say this, FAMU deserves better. The fact that an esteemed university that was led by so many great people has fallen to these sort of levels is really a shame. The class of 2024 had a very difficult time. They started college in the middle of a pandemic, and they deserve to have a commencement address, speaker. So I'll tell you what, I am willing for nothing. I actually make a donation. I am willing to give a commencement address at Florida A&M University so that they can hear from someone who basically did more work to uncover this than the university that they were educated at.
I mean, hell, I spoke Saturday at Wilberforce graduation, and I've done Stillman, South Carolina State, Lane. I got a real resume. This dude ain't got no resume. I mean, this Batterson Farms, the 7th, the Family Trust, all this stuff sounds great, and it's just like, what are y'all talking about?
I'm going to say this: if you are familiar with New Jack City, there's a scene when Nino Brown is in the boardroom where he's going around saying nobody know nothing. I mean, the fact of the matter is how this could happen is an institutional disgrace. And I'm not picking on FAMU. The fact of the matter is it doesn't take a PhD in nuclear chemistry like the president of the university has to figure this out. It took me 15 minutes. And I can tell you that I appreciate some of the phone calls that I've gotten from the Rattler Nation thanking me for this. But I can also say that I was a little disturbed by some of the social media venom from some rattlers who...
Oh, man, they were dogging you, bro. Mind your... First of all, listen, let's just be real frank. Let's be like, where'd you go to college?
I went to Howard University.
Okay, all right. So you went to HBCU. Listen, I went to Texas A&M. And HBCU folk are protective about their individual school and HBCUs as opposed to, let's deal with the truth. And there were people who were attacking you, they were attacking others, as opposed to finding out the truth. And you've been posting a number of different stuff like, is this the house he live in? Is this the farm? I think you posted one item where he supposedly said he bought some farm or something and the property is still not sold. The thing never went through. I saw one story where he reached out to the University of Texas and they basically laughed at his ass. He called the University of Texas to try to give some money, and the University of Texas essentially laughed at him and hung up. But he's supposedly based in Texas. Bruh, come on.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'll just reiterate. FAMU deserves better. This is, in the board meeting today, was an embarrassment.
You tweeted a tie for an audit is nasty work. Well, explain that. What happened?
Well, what happened is one of the board members was suggesting that they do an audit to evaluate how they got here. And it was a tie for like 10 minutes. And someone texted no, which broke the tie. Then there was another motion for another sort of audit, and it passed. But the fact of the matter is, the fact that FAMU board and the president allow that board to go out in public like that and represent the university like that is shameful. I work in nonprofit management. That's what I do for a living. I'm a manager in an educational nonprofit. If I embarrass my board like that, I wouldn't have a job. And I can tell you that if if everybody just goes along like this is no big deal, the fact of the matter is this university trumpeted in a consistent way the fact that they got $250 million when they really received nothing. So there has to be some consequence for folks who allow this to happen.
They got sheets of paper. Let's go to my panel. Greg Carr, you first. You on mute, Greg.
Thank you, Roland.
There you go.
And it's good to see you, Brother Jarrell.
Yeah, I used to be a student of Dr. Carr, by the way. I took a class with Dr. Carr at Howard.
Absolutely. That's absolutely right. It's good to see you, brother. And it's good to see you continuing the great work that I encountered when you were at the university, man. It's good to see you in that regard. My question has to do with, I guess I could frame it by saying we don't have all the facts. I mean, we can certainly lots of things circumstantial. What would your best advice be to Florida A&M or any black institution for that matter who finds itself in a situation where they have received at least the promise of a gift like this, and now everybody is basically deciding that there is no gift, there is no money? I mean, what would you suggest to be their best course of action at this point until the facts come out? Because we know the facts have not yet been established.
Well, first I'll say, Dr. Carr, that some of the facts are out. So we do know that the family trust consists of 15 million shares of Batterson Farms. We do know that Batterson Farms doesn't have the licenses required to grow hemp, does not have any employees, does not have any properties. And so we know that just because you say a company is worth $1 billion doesn't make it so. And so, I mean, I think it's important to deal with that. But on the second level, and then also there's just some questions, and I think research and articles have proven that Mr. Germany is not who he says he is, or he doesn't have the personal wealth that he has. So those are two facts that I think are important to consider. To your second part of your question about what advice I would have, I would give them the same advice that I would give any institution: to do their due diligence, to ensure that they're doing the proper sort of research and vetting to ensure that something like this could never happen. Quite frankly, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that this was a situation that was not real.
Well, here's a perfect example. Jarrell, hold on 1 second. Jarrell, hold on. This is from the Tallahassee. Again, this is the deal. In a media availability arranged by FAMU Monday, Jerami told the Tallahassee Democrat that Abbott, quote, left us maybe about a couple of months, maybe about a month ago. She has more of an advisor role right now. She had some health issues. When asked later whether he would be surprised to hear Abbott said she was never an employee of Batterson Farms and never received any compensation as an employee, Jerami said, quote, nothing surprises me anymore. He described her duties as co-CEO as really just there to guide and give more advice, and she didn't do as much work as others in the company. Her compensation, he said, was given through penny stocks. Now, right there. So what people need to understand, Jarrell, when we talk about penny stocks, first of all, penny stocks are publicly traded companies. So I think what people don't realize is I can right now go out and I can go buy a shell company. I can go buy and create a publicly traded company, and I can be trading on with penny stocks. This article right here shows you how he gets caught in a lie. So if you paid her through penny stocks, what was the publicly traded company? What were the stocks? This woman is listed as co-CEO. She now says, I never served as CEO of the company. Hello, that's red flag. And so what I don't understand is how did the FAMU board today not vote to call for an extensive examination and investigation and literally track these things down? By the way, according to the same story, there was supposed to be a meeting on Wednesday. You see it right here. On Wednesday, a FAMU spokesperson invited the Tallahassee Democrat to meet with Jerami and officials of the university's foundation office, but moments before it was scheduled to begin, a FAMU official said it was canceled because, quote, something came up, unquote. He said any future interview, quote, was unpaused. I'm sorry, that's a joke.
Yeah, and I do want to say this. So I want to answer the second part of Brother Carr's, which is like an alpha sort of meeting here.
Well, that's how it always happens, but go ahead.
Absolutely. So I will say this to Dr. Carr's point. It's important to do your due diligence, and it's also important to inform your board. I think that is a massive failure on this part. The fact that the foundation board and the university board was not informed is a failure of just massive proportions. The fact that the president is saying that they couldn't tell their board because they had an NDA is crazy. The fact of the matter is the president is an employee of the board.
Yeah.
So that's just pure board governance and just pure, organizational governance. And the fact that he thought it was appropriate to say, hey, we couldn't tell you because we had an NDA. You can't do anything.
And you are a state institution. And so even though you are Florida A&M and you sign a NDA, somebody in the state of Florida has the authority to review the NDA. You're a state institution. You can't just hide behind an NDA.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this again, and it's really important. This did not take a lot of work, right? Like, I knew immediately that this was bizarre. And within 15 minutes, I realized it was completely a joke.
Right here. When contacted by the Tallahassee Democrat, the head of the Texas Hemp Growers Association said he had not heard of Batterson Farms Corporation or Jerami. Now, if you're supposed to be a big-time hemp grower, the Texas Hemp Growers Association might know who you are.
So let me say this. I think Jerami has some challenges that I hope he gets help for. I don't necessarily blame Jerami because it's obvious that he needs help.
Right.
Who I do blame is the university that allowed themselves to be a pawn.
Yep.
The fact that they didn't do their due diligence and allowed this man to give a commencement address. That, for me, speaks to massive institutional failures that has to change. FAMU deserves better.
And not only that,
you don't deserve this.
Not only that, Kim Godwin, who at the time was the president of ABC News, of course, was out the next day, sent 2 camera crews to the graduation to cover it. So, Reese, go.
Mr. Blakely, thank you for being here. I think it's strange that FAMU did less due diligence than Risa Tisa did in Who the F Did I Marry on TikTok. But thanks to, and part of your voice around this has brought attention to a very bizarre and strange scam, it appears. I just want to get your thoughts on the layer of protection and the defensiveness people seem to have around you specifically calling this out for it seemed pretty outrageous from the start, and people's willingness to call themselves digging up dirt on you as opposed to focusing on the issue at hand, which is it looked like FAMU was being scammed. And have you gotten any retractions or apologies for the people who were dragging you on the social media about this?
Well, I'll just say that people are kind of quiet. I haven't really heard anything recently since the board meeting because it turns out I was 100% right. I don't purport to be perfect. I'm not purporting to be a saint. I've done things that I've regretted. But quite frankly, this isn't about me. And folks are engaging in ad hominem attacks. Don't make the story about me. Make the story about what I'm saying about FAMU. And so it doesn't matter who I call what or what I did when I was an elected official. That's in the past. I've moved on. The fact of the matter is I should not have had to say this. This should have been something that should have been captured months ago. The fact that this gentleman gave a commencement address and the fact that they didn't do their due diligence is the reason why they're here. It's not, in fact, it should have been someone at FAMU. It should have been someone in the audience that said, yo, this meeting, this commencement address is strange. Who's this guy? But the fact that the entire academic hierarchy at FAMU, folks with PhDs, law degrees, JDs, PhDs, MBAs, allowed themselves to allow this man to present a worthless check on the stage of FAMU's graduation and have Charlie Wilson's I'm Blessed and the OJ's For the Love of Money playing is shameful. Like, it's the most ridiculous thing ever. And the fact that they allow that to happen is the story, not who I called what when I was an elected official.
Lauren?
Jarrell, is there any possibility that FAMU had some sort of like Mackenzie Scott fever and thought that this was real? Have they ever gotten another donation that was even close to this type of donation?
Well, I'll say that's a really good question. And so, I mean, the fact of the matter is HBCUs deserve this kind of money, and it's unfortunate that they don't get this kind of money. The highest contribution to a historically black college was a recent donation to Spelman College by the Stryker family of $100 million, which is the largest contribution to a historically black college ever. Compare that to Michael Bloomberg's philanthropy towards Johns Hopkins, where he has donated $3.5 billion to one university. That $3.5 billion is more than all of the HBCU's endowments combined. And so I think, there's a desire. I can understand why one official was crying, because this type of investment would have been very transformational for Florida A&M University and other universities of similar stature. However, just because we want something to be true doesn't mean that it is. And it's incumbent upon the people who are paid to represent the university and to do their due diligence to do the right thing. And so I know that, for example, these types of investments just don't fall from the sky. For example, the Stryker endowment that was given to the Spelman College, that Stryker has been on the board for 30 years, and they have given countless money before that $100 million donation. And so for FAMU to think that someone was going to basically walk off the street and say, hey, I'm going to give you $250 million, particularly when that person has no track record, you never heard of them before, speaks to a level of gullibility that is actually breathtaking and really, really shameful. If I was a board member next week when the full board convenes, I'd be wanting some answers. And if I didn't get any legitimate answers, I'd be telling folks, we'll send your box in the mail, go home and do something else with your career. This is a very big deal. The fact of the matter is, this is an institutional failure of huge proportions, and multiple people failed the university and failed the students by not doing their due diligence.
So let me say this here again. What was said on the call today, which was stunning, was that this guy called out of the blue. He just called the office one day saying, I want to make a gift. And they begin to have different conversations about different gifts. And you heard Jarrell mention the $100 million Spelman. On the Zoom call today, they said that after the Spelman College donation was announced, Jerami came back and said, I want to increase my gift to exceed the Spelman donation. And they went, yay! This is absolutely insane. Lauren?
No, I didn't have anything else. Thanks.
Well, Jarrell, so what? So this was the foundation meeting today. What's next week? An actual Board of Trustees meeting?
Yeah, I believe it's an actual Board of Trustee meeting. I think an outcome of the foundation board meeting, the president, Robinson, mentioned that the sort of gift is on hold, right? Which is another example, because the gift was never on. So how can it be on hold if it was never on? I think that the board meeting was outrageous. The fact that people just didn't fall on their sword, or people just didn't say, hey, we messed up. I just think really speaks to a culture. Listen, if Dr. Robinson has a job next week, I'd be shocked. Like I couldn't imagine. Put it like this: if Dr. Robinson is able to survive this, the problems at FAMU are a lot more intense than even this situation would imply.
We shall see what happens next. Jarrell Blakely, thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
All right, Frat, take care. We come back. Isaac Hayes III joins us for our Tech Talk segment. Man, my head's still reeling from that FAMU segment. We'll be back in a moment.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit StartEngine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
On A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, the necessity of believing in things you can't see. It's called faith. It comes in all shapes and sizes, and it's powerful. And it's a big part of being able to live a balanced life.
The valley I experienced being a cancer survivor was one where my footing was completely unstable. I had no idea what to do. And in that instance of not knowing what to do, I had to rely on faith.
That's all next on A Balanced Life, only on Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
Me, Sherry Shepard, with Sammy Roman.
I'm Dr. Robin B., pharmacist and fitness coach, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Elon Musk is talking about charging new users on Twitter. Now you have Facebook, also called Meta, who wants to now start charging businesses to be on Facebook as well. Don't think for a second these apps are going to be free. Isaac Hayes III, founder of Fanbase, joins us right now. Isaac, here's what's interesting here. These social media apps have been getting killed when Apple made changes to their phone, allowing people to stop being tracked. That's how they were making their billions. Now these companies are freaking out. They got to figure out how to find that money. And so they're going to start charging folk to be on these platforms.
Absolutely. I think when Apple and Google allow users to opt out of being tracked when they're not inside the applications, that prevented a lot of these companies from being able to sell data and increase ad revenue. So for that very reason, a lot of people, including myself, have opted out of being tracked while I'm not using specific apps. And so Instagram and Meta are finding a way to offset that cost with this new Meta Verified for Business. That's pretty pricey if you look at it, Roland.
Absolutely. And here's the deal. When we talk about this, what happened here, I remember when that happened, because what the folk realized was, well, hold up, we got the power here. So Apple's all about privacy. And when Facebook was getting crushed on Capitol Hill when it came to selling of data, when they put that became basically a poison pill for Facebook, and they've been reeling ever since. And so now you have this new deal, and they're starting in Australia and New Zealand, and they're going to be charging, what, $14.99 a month for businesses?
I'm going to tell you these prices: $14.99, $44.99, $119.99, and $349.99.
Yeah, the max plan is $350 a month.
Yeah. And I mean, you're paying for more visibility. which should tip people off to the fact that your content is being suppressed. Meaning, like, if they're making you pay to be seen, then they're basically charging you to already be visible to the people that already follow you, and they're going to allow you to put links in your profile, other things like that. So I just found it extremely interesting. But this is just speaking more to the fact that I think these platforms are trying to offset the cost of losing ad revenue, and they're so ad revenue dependent, which is why this shift towards subscription-based services in social media is changing. And this is kind of like a middle point. This is like a way to kind of lead people into where Fanbase already is, because this is basically a subscription. You're basically subscribing to have more visibility on the platform, and that's what Meta is doing with this program.
Lauren.
So Isaac, don't you think the subscription model at some point, and I'm talking to somebody who has a StreamYard platform, is going to wear everybody out? Because now everything is becoming subscription. Everything is becoming pay me every month, pay me something every month, and that's starting to get old real fast. That starts to add up, as you know. So when do you think the breaking point of the subscription model business may be?
I don't see that. I think that there's still a wide community of people that want to pay for content. It just depends on what you're paying for. It depends on what you're subscribing for. Because when you subscribe to Netflix every month, you're paying $20, $30 a month to subscribe to every single piece of content that is on Netflix. And you might not watch 99% of it, right? But if you could subscribe to someone for $2.99 a month and get an entire network of content specifically from that person, then you would pay for that and get rid of Netflix. And so I think subscription fatigue is absolutely real, but I think as subscription-based services become more available and more widely known, there will be niche communities that subscribe to specific things that actually people are more interested in. A lot of, like with media now and television, you're casting a wide net. A place like Disney Plus or Hulu or Netflix is casting a wide net, right? As opposed to narrowing down on the very, very finite a group of individuals that are interested in horror films or comedy specials or, documentaries. And so I think that's going to be something that's extremely important. And then with the advent of AI, I really feel like in real life content, which is called IRL, which we see a lot of the young streamers doing, is going to be the real television, which is reality. Like reality is going to be, the most watched type of content, more so than pre-recorded, filmed, expensive content that people are putting out nowadays.
Thanks.
Well, their reality is, I don't want to think about that. All right, Reese.
I guess, can you talk a little bit about how undemocratic our information is becoming? I think people have this false sense of when they search for something, they are getting results based on the merit of the content that pops up, as opposed to algorithms starting to manipulate and throttle different websites or different content because of things like you mentioned, subscriptions, paying for advertisements and things of that nature. Can you talk about the information and the awareness that needs to happen around that issue of social media?
I think most users are really unaware that these platforms are in competition with them. Every single person that's on Instagram or Facebook, the app is working against you because you yourself are a network. Every single person that has a social media profile, television network. And if a company wanted to advertise with you and you could consistently reach 1 million people, 10 million people, 100 million people, you could just charge for people to post content on your page, and the platforms know that. So they actually suppress your content and squish it down, and it forces the companies to do things like advertise with them. So this is just another way to continue to force advertisers to either do business directly with or for the visibility that they should already have.
So for instance, Reese, right, Beyonce has 319 million followers on Instagram. The top threshold for any cable network is 100 million. But with cord cutting, we're now seeing that. So basically, at its height, CNN was in like 105, 110 million homes. That means that Beyonce, her Instagram page alone is 3 times bigger than CNN was at its height. But if Beyonce goes live right now, she will not have 319 million people watching her, because essentially they capped that sucker. Like you take Cardi B. One night Cardi B went live, and let me just see her followers. Cardi B has 167 million followers. She had almost 100,000 people on. That means that Cardi B was getting barely 1% of her following watching her live. So they ain't gonna never let, if a Beyonce can hit 319 million people, she can make that, that's more people than who watch the Super Bowl. Instagram ain't let her make that money. They gonna make that money. Greg.
Thank you, Roland. And that kind of opens the door to my question, asked out of ignorance, but after years of watching you operate and after years of Brother Isaac hearing your conversations with Roland and with all of us, and maybe this again, I'm asking out of ignorance, what do you see as the opportunity or opportunities for Black disruptors? Fanbase is free, Black Star Network is free. The idea that crowdsourcing financial support, while the push, as Roland has been doing now for quite some time, to get those advertising dollars with some success, and then continuing to hold out the promise and expectation that that success will improve. But what are some of the opportunities for disruption? And you know, like you said, what you said to Lauren about this fatigue, the subscription fatigue, you know more about it. I just feel like maybe like Lauren perhaps feels, if she asked the question, at some point people won't get sick of this. But what opportunities are there for the models like Fanbase, like Blacks, like those who are disrupting? Can there be some Black disruption in the midst of this kind of clawing at every penny people have for subscription basis?
I say absolutely. I mean, I think infrastructure is what you're talking about, right? And so for the most part, all these infrastructures, these tech companies are owned by people that are not Black, right? So Roland has the Black Star Network. He's built an infrastructure that's Black owned. Fanbase is a Black owned application, a Black owned social media platform, and the infrastructure is Black owned. The reason why that is important is typically because culture usually creates and modifies and shifts and guides technology in the way that it's headed. What makes things cool, what makes things awesome, what makes things, it sets the trends. But then on the back end, who actually has ownership of that? So my design, Roland's design in building these platforms is that we can also be guides, but also protect our culture in a way that it's not exploited.
There you go.
Typically, when advertising is at play, right? And I say this all the time, with a platform like TikTok, right? TikTok wants very, very famous white creators on their platform, because I always say, unfortunately, things built by Black people are perceived to be only for Black people, but things built by white people are perceived to be for all people. So if I'm Dunkin' Coffee, do I want a young 20-something-year-old white girl to be the face of our brand, or a young 20-something-year-old Black girl? You want the white girl because the white girl appeals to white people, Black people, Asian people, Latino people, all races, right? But if you have a Black girl, then most people, white people, might opt out of that advertisement. Other races might opt out of that advertisement because of the girl is Black. So we see Black culture being appropriated, but then suppressed so that it can't thrive in the same way. So a platform like Fanbase is not going to allow that to happen. Number one, we don't run off advertising. And two, I want to give everybody a voice. So I want to make sure that people understand that Fanbase is not Black only, but the fact that I'm a Black founder, it just means that I understand the inequity that exists, and there will always be a conversation and always be a way that all voices are heard, no matter what race you are, because we're not basing it on trying to suppress people's content to make money. It's a community, and I'm into community building. And so that's really the most important part about this is building a new community for people to be a part of. And
I'll say this here, a perfect example. I saw the news today, go to my iPad, where Tubi, they're launching something called Stubios to fund and stream fan green-lit creative projects. They tapped Issa Rae to mentor aspiring filmmakers. And again, here's a perfect example. Issa Rae, significant brand, and she has a fan base, but guess what? Tubi wants to bring her on, cutting a check, to drive their value up, but guess what? She doesn't own Tubi. The Fox Corporation owns Tubi. And so what we're talking about here, even when you look at to your question, Greg, And I look at the work that Lauren does, what she's doing with her newsletter, the work that Reese is doing as well, and what you're doing with Karen Hunter and with us with the Black Table on Black Star Network.
Yes.
This is really the hardest thing. And this is the hardest thing. And that is to get black people to decide, do I want to make black people rich, or do I want to be so associated with white folks that I have white validation? See, we just got to put it on the table. We got to put it on the table because there are black celebrities with massive following. And I know this because Isaac and I talked. He's had the numerous conversations, and they are on other social platforms making nothing. But if you say, here's an equity stake, you can come here and make millions. Yeah, but you're not them. Am I lying, Isaac?
I don't think you're lying, but I think we also have to understand, I say this all the time, you know, and people like you, Roland, there are black people in this country that understand that they are not minorities by their energy or their effort or their creativity. And so for me, I'm a person that's never felt like a minority living in Atlanta. And what I mean is, when you grow up understanding that white supremacy runs everything and that you have to fight your way through that, I don't fault the paths that Oprah and Jay-Z take. I don't fight the path that, you know, I understand why, because that's the only thing that they know. They don't, and I mean, we're getting to the point now where you should know. I mean, you're out there, Roland, I'm out there. We should know that we can actually invest in these startups and scale these things to 100, 200, $300 billion companies if we want to, but we have to get past that point. But I think that's hard to tell people to not kind of like stop fighting, right? All you have, if there's no villain, then the battle is over, and what do I have to fight? And a lot of people want to be able to fight through white supremacy to gain acceptance, but I've never felt like I had to, so I never did. So that's why I operate the way that I operate with Fanbase.
So that's where we are. So Isaac, first of all, give us an update on your crowdfund.
Man, everybody, I need you guys, everybody who's watching right now, go to startengine.com/fanbase. It's on my shirt if you can see it. And invest in Fanbase and get equity. We're raising $17 million.
Drop lower third, please.
$1 million raised. And there's goals to this. There's like a 5-year plan, I mean, a 3-year plan to this, but our first milestone is the $2.5 million mark that we want people to invest in. And the minimum to invest in Fanbase is $399. And you actually get equity shares, stock. This is not GoFundMe. This is not, Kickstarter. This is actual stock options.
And it's also not a fake hemp farm, because you actually have a platform, an office, employees, and actual revenue. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I had to go through the SEC multiple times. All of our financials are available online. We actually got a non-review from the SEC, which is a good thing. They trusted our paperwork and all of our due diligence on our company so well that they had no objection with us going ahead and launching this $17 million round. It's significant because I'm very confident that I'm going to scale Fanbase to a $100 billion company. And right now we're valued at $160 million. We've gone from 20 to 50 to 85 to a $160 million company. And I want to continue to do that and build the first of its kind Black-owned social media platform that can be a successor to a TikTok or an Instagram. All these platforms aren't going to last forever. Facebook is not going to last forever. Instagram is not going to last forever. There will always be new platforms that emerge that young people and other cultures migrate to build community. So I tell you, before you do that, absolutely download Fanbase, use it, come on board, make a profile. It's free to download, free to use, but invest. And that minimum is $399. You get 60 shares at $665 a share. And I think it's an excellent opportunity for people to get on the cap table of a company that's continuing to scale and grow. We almost have 700,000 users. We're in 190 countries on iOS and Android. We've got some really cool functionality launching, especially next week. We got a whole new version of Live launching, so you won't be suppressed. When you go live to everybody that has Fanbase. It won't be capped by your following, so it doesn't matter who's on Fanbase. They'll be able to see your live, not based off your following. It'll be open to anybody. So if you want to DJ, if you want to do makeup, if you want to talk, have conversations or whatever, that's something that we'll be able to do. And because we've reached this $1 million threshold, we'll be able to add RTMP streaming to the platform. So, Roland, your show will be able to be streamed on Fanbase coming soon, because now we've reached that threshold. So now the Black Star Network and Roland Martin Unfiltered can also be streamed live on Fanbase. And so I'm excited about that. And that's what investing does. It allows us to continue to build the company and scale the company. So go to startengine.com/Fanbase to invest.
And I am excited about that because we stream right now on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, sometimes on Instagram, obviously on YouTube as well, and is reaching folks across the platform. So we definitely want to reach Fanbase community. Isaac, I appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, I know we went over time, but we had some wild stories today. Let me thank Reese. Let me thank Greg. Let me thank Lauren. We're going to stay on top of this NAACP suspension stuff. I got people texting me, tweeting me, saying it happened to me too. We certainly want to get some better information from the NAACP because that statement simply was not good enough, what they sent to us. And also, Florida A&M, I don't know what the hell y'all got going on, but y'all got more questions than answers for the public. And again, I'm from Texas, and ain't nobody heard of this Gregory Jerami dude. So I don't know what's going on there. All right, y'all, that's it. Again, Reese, Greg, Lauren, thank you so very much. I appreciate it. Glad to have y'all. Lauren, how you got Lauren sign off? How she keep coming on that Virginia Tech hat? When she gonna wear a Virginia State hat? And speaking of that, y'all need to keep tweeting to tell Trump to keep his punk ass in Biden to agree to the debate, because Virginia State University is the first HBCU ever to get an invitation to host a presidential debate. And so Trump and Biden, if they gonna do, there's 3 debates they normally do. If they gonna do one, better damn sure do that one at Virginia State. And so I need y'all out there on social media pushing that out there, saying you want to see that presidential debate happen on the campus of Virginia State University. And so y'all stand with my alpha brother, who's the president down there. That's it, folks. I certainly appreciate it. Again, Greg, Reese, Lauren, thanks a lot. Folks, we got to go. I'm going to see y'all tomorrow. My niece graduates from Howard University tomorrow. She gets her master's degree. It's at 6 p.m. I actually got to host a show. All my family's going to be there, but I was the one last year, so I'm good. But you know, I will be in studio. But Faith, congratulations on your master's degree in architecture from Howard University. She gets that degree tomorrow at 6 p.m. All right, folks, don't forget, support us in what we do. I had somebody send me this, put it on Twitter. Man, you need to send your anchors out covering these stores around the country. I said, baby, that costs money. I love people who tell me how we need to be covering news, and my automatic answer is, do you give? So it's real easy to say what we should be doing, but if you ain't no donor, well, I'm sorry. So, again, join our Bring the Fuck fan club. Send your check and money order, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered, PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland@RolandSMartin.com, Roland@RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available at bookstores nationwide. Get your audio version on Audible. And we have sold out copies of the first. Now, here's what I'm doing. I'm checking with my brother. Y'all, I got books all over the place, so I'm checking with my brother to make sure I ain't left none of his house. I just moved, so I'm going through all the boxes, make sure you ain't got a stash nowhere, but we are completely sold out. A lot of y'all been emailing, calling. Yo, I'm personally autographing each book. Y'all, that ain't easy. So I could have easily shipped the books, so I gotta personally autograph each book and package them. Okay, this ain't Amazon, okay, where you can order today and you get it tomorrow, because I gotta sign each one. So please be patient. I shipped off 140 books the other day. I just finished signing 60 before I came to the show today. My goal is to go home and knock out 200 tonight. So I'm on it, but just be patient, please, all right? So folks, we will see y'all tomorrow right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla! Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?